We want to promote the diverse voices of Muslim women. There is a common perception that Muslim women have a single view, as this room presents and shows very well. We are a diverse community, we have diverse voices, and those need to be heard as well. And it's only right now that we should have Mr. George Galloway, MP for Bradford West. One of the things that we do believe in is that we should hold our leaders and political representatives to account. They represent our needs and our views, and they've actually said that they would do that. So in that respect, it's only right that George should be here today. We've had lots of people questioning why we're having Mr. Galloway as our speaker. The answer is clear. He's an elected member of Parliament for Bradford West. He is both accountable and answerable to his constituents. And in light of recent remarks, which has been written about quite a lot, we wanted to provide women the opportunity to speak directly to Mr. Galloway. Speak to him and give him the opportunity to speak to you as well. Equally important is the fact that the buzz and energy that galvanised women and young people in politics in Bradford West only months ago was seen as a milestone in Bradford voting behaviour and the expectations by politicians of their electorate. Muslim Women's Council isn't something that sits neatly into a box. People try to put us into a box and have been struggling to do that. So I think it's only right we should have George here today.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to address you, and thank you to the media for being interested at last in the work of the Bradford Muslim Women's Council. Two things on the record, first of all. The first is the question of rape. No means no, no never means yes, and sex without consent is a sexual assault or rape. That's always been my view. It's my view now. It's the view that has informed me through the passage in Parliament of many pieces of legislation which I have supported. I support the law, and I have never done otherwise. I believe that Julian Assange is being set up by the United States of America in league with the government of Sweden and the government of Britain to punish him for the devastating revelations which he was responsible for making, which outlined crimes against women even more vile than the crime of rape. Crimes involving the mass murder of women. The mass murder of women in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Palestine, in Lebanon, and elsewhere. It's very, very easy to destroy a man through false allegations. I have not faced what Julian Assange has faced. An organised setup involving at least one woman who has been for several years an asset, a paid asset of the CIA, working with anti-Castro Cuban organizations in Miami and Havana, and who has been deported from Cuba for her involvement in those activities. That woman A, whom I shall not name and have never named, is nonetheless well known. It was the American plot to silence him with 50 years of penal servitude in solitary confinement in conditions of mental torture, which is what the United States government has in mind for Julian Assange. And if you don't believe me, just look at the plight of Bradley Manning, his alleged collaborator, who is in precisely that situation now before an American courts-martial. Rape is a vile crime. Mass murder is an even worse one. The invasion of one Muslim country after another, the occupation of one Muslim country after another by the United States is an even bigger and even more vile crime than rape.
So, for background information, George Galloway recently made comments with his podcast about WikiLeaks campaigner Julian Assange, who is facing rape allegations in Sweden. George used the term bad sexual etiquette. Now, what I'd like to do is take 4 questions from the floor, and I know a number of you were keen to talk about this issue.
I didn't choose Bradford, Bradford chose me. Bradford elected me with 18,000 votes, with a 10,000 vote majority. It was the biggest political landslide in the last 110 years in Britain. So I don't have to explain to you why I chose Bradford. You have to try and work out why Bradford chose me. Why do I defend others? Because I believe in God, and I believe that we're all God's children. And injustice visited upon people anywhere is an injustice visited upon all of us. I hope on reflection, you see as a young person, that the time will come when you can see that. When you can see that the injustice being visited on people in Afghanistan, in Iraq, Palestine, is just as important as any injustice visited upon people in these shores. You may not share that view, in which case you'll no doubt not be voting for me if I ever put myself forward in your area for election. So I completely reject the first part of the last question. I completely reject it. I don't believe in discrimination between people just by virtue of where they are on the globe. On the first question, I don't think you need to worry about the loss of Salma Yaqub. She's a loss to us, but she'll not be a loss to politics. I think you'll find she'll be back in politics probably fairly soon. On the subject of rape, I couldn't be more clear, could I?
Yes.
Than my opening remarks.
Yes. Yes.
Well, let me restate them. No means no. No never means yes. Sex without consent is sexual assault or rape. I don't think, please don't heckle, it's not within the terms of reference that the chair laid out. I don't think you can be clearer than that. Julian Assange is being set up, and the day will come, and sooner than you think, when everyone will see that. Everyone will see that the allegations against him are not just a pack of lies, but will be demonstrated to be. Julian Assange wants to face these accusations. He asks only 2 things. First of all, Sweden can send a prosecutor to London to interrogate him here, as they have recently done with a mass murderer, an alleged mass murderer elsewhere. Sweden refuses to do so. You may want to ask yourselves why. This context is vital. Assange is being set up. I'm defending him. I'm one of the people, along with many leaders in Latin America and elsewhere, who's defending him. Sweden could send a prosecutor to interrogate him here. They will not do so. Sweden could give a promise, an undertaking to Ecuador, which has given him political asylum. Political asylum is important too, you know, that they will not extradite him to the United States if he goes back to Sweden. He wants to go back to Sweden if they will give that undertaking. They refuse to do so. And you may ask yourselves, why? That's the context of my remarks. Don't take my remarks from The Sun, those champions of women's rights, The Sun and the Daily Star and the Bradford Telegraph and Argus, those champions of Muslim women's rights. Take my words in the context in which I spoke them, and you'll see very clearly why I cannot and will not apologize for what I said, for what I said. Not what The Sun said I said, but what I said. I will not apologise for it because it's my belief. Now, I may well forfeit your political support as a result, but I don't do things in order to win people's political support. I do them because I believe in them. And I believe that Julian Assange is innocent and that the allegations against him are malicious and politically motivated.
And
now on the subject of consent.
And do you also stand by the comments that you made in your podcast, completely 100% accurate? No apology with reference
Every
to those?
word I said in my podcast, I stand by. Every word I said in my podcast, I stand by.
Okay.
I don't talk loosely about such matters as these. I'm adding fuel to the fire of anger and indignation about the mass unemployment that our young people in particular are facing. I'm adding fuel to the fire of anger and indignation about the fact our schools are the 8th worst in the country. I'm adding fuel to the fire of anger and indignation about the fact that there are many people in this city whose parents and grandparents came from Pakistan, which is currently under bombardment with mass murder of Pakistani civilian people by the United States, supported by the United Kingdom, and supported by all 3 of the major parties. So yes, in one sense, I am adding fuel to the fire. But I'm fighting for a better deal for Bradford. You better ask yourselves, I've only been here, as the lady said, 4 months. It's actually 5 months. In that 5 months, Parliament has been on holiday most of the time. It's only just come back for a few days, after months on holiday. I'd only just been elected and it was on holiday for weeks before I could take my seat. So you haven't given me that long, if I may say so. It'd be better to ask yourselves, why did Bradford get into this state? Didn't get into this state in the last 5 months. It got into this state in the last 50 years. And ask yourselves who was representing you in the last 50 years, not in the last 5 months. If a bomb is falling on a Pakistani woman in Waziristan, that matters to me just as much as if a bomb was falling on a Muslim woman in Bradford.
Josh, thank you for prioritising our collective voice. We do really appreciate it and we look forward to seeing you again. A big thank you to all of our dedicated officers that are here today and all the hard work that you've put in. Now we want to hear from you. Who would you like to see in the hot seat? Please forward your suggestions and we will endeavour to get them up here. Thank you and good night from the Bradford Circle.